Okay, we're live. Good morning, everyone. Sunday, December the 7th, according to Flip, my calendar, named by Leslie King. And I'll always be grateful because he needed a name. He really did. I mean, inanimate object, sure, but he's totally functional. And so, and yeah, he's a he. Because let's be real, gentlemen, we know, ladies, time, not your forte. I know, I'm saying that. That's wrong. It takes a little bit more for the ladies to do the lady thing. Oh my gosh. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get torqued off at me for saying that, but it's my reality. Welcome to it. No, hey everybody, how are you? I'm fiddling and fidgeting. I shouldn't be, right? This is a professional. No, it's not a professional show. This is morning coffee talk. That's what we're doing today, and that's about it. So now, have you noticed the topic of the day being a hero in their eyes? And where did that come from? Why did I do that this morning? Why are we talking about it over coffee? Because coffee is a heroic elixir. If you don't believe that, well, bless your heart. But yeah, I don't know. It's like I was kind of thinking about the morning's conversation and what that means as far as like because like the term hero over the past decade or two has really been like watered down so much. This is not to demean anyone who's been labeled a hero or anything like that. But at the same time, the word in and of itself and the way it gets used so much, it's like anything, it just gets softened. And not going to go into specifics there. You can just drink that in what I said there. But the one thing that when I think about hero, and of course, when I think of Superman, like the original superhero, um, but people. I'll go back to 2020 in the days when people were deemed non-essential, but the ones who were still essential and had to show up for everybody else, that was pretty heroic. Because again, with the fear mongering that was going on out there were people who were told that no, you still got to do your thing, and those people were primarily service workers, like at convenience stores and certain of the bigger chain things to maintain society. And these people were thrown into a world where everything was allegedly going to do bad things to you, right? That's pretty heroic to show up in a world where the money sucked, the responsibility was high, the pressure was higher, and a lot of people gravitated to being mean for no reason. I call that heroic. I think I always will. And it's funny because when you look at like folks inside of like those service industry things, in general, and this is not to separate myself. That's not what I mean by that. But you know, when you see the folks working like at the fast food places or the restaurants or the retail stores and everything, there's a lot of thankless jobs happening, and I've always been perturbed by that because it's almost like it's a form of low grade classism, in my opinion. You can disagree all you want. That's fine and dandy. I don't care. But that's the way I see it. Because there's always dignity in work. I mean, there just is. It's an ingrained thing that I think goes beyond just societal norms, but it's true. It's like to be willing to show up. But then when you show up and you really show up to do what you do, that's truly appreciated because sometimes it gets tough, especially when you're dealing with the public. You know this, especially if you're one of the folks that I'm referring to in this manner. Yeah. Oh, I see. Today's co-host, Simon, he has decided he wants to leave, but I'm not going to let him. See, if you're like me and you have critters around the house who hang out with wonderful personalities and share much love, Simon demands it a lot, especially when I'm working on something. So this is going to be a little bit of payback for me to him. Now you got to stay, Simon. He'll probably come over here and disrupt because he's good at that. Back to hero talk. Again, thinking about that, and if you see like the morning picture with Flip and the little wooden S hero there that happens to look a little bit like Superman's decor. It's funny because Alicia and Caitlin had got this surprised me with that a while back. And the bigger thing about it that, really thinking about, and yeah, I think too much, but is that representation of a gift for me of Superman. And that's how they see me, right? I'm daddy. That's what daddy does. I'm the husband. That's what I do, to do the best I can at all times, to be the best I can at all times for them. And thinking about all of that, just really kind of encouraging that mindset of you yourself showing up and being the hero in all things you do. Yes, Jim's preaching on a Sunday mornings. Well, maybe I am. But thinking about that in our own actions when we're out and about and we're doing things, to really put your best foot forward and being a good example for people in general. And that's a heroic thing. Being kind just because, being nice just because, having a conversation with someone just because. Um, and I think it's something that is a trait that has taken a beating, and been really relegated way down on the list of social norms and priorities. And I don't know, just thinking about that. So be the best you can be, because that reflects to everyone else. It's true. I firmly believe that. And again, and the more that I see, like this particular holiday season, why there are all kinds of factors, I guess, that the stress is high and anxiety is high, the economy being the way it is, the free flow of liquid cash ain't what it once was. And I know a lot of folks are doing a lot of things using the credit system. I am not judging you, but it makes it hard, because then as soon as you continue to acquire and add that debt on top of yourself, you're doing it with the best of intentions. But we all know that the road to hell can be paved with, same said, best intentions. Let's see what's going on over here. There we go. Okay, everything's hot, so that's good. Anyway, that's just kind of it. It's Sunday. Sunday is like kind of, it's funny because no matter what you're doing on a Sunday, Sunday has still holds on to being that calm day of the week, even though it's still, well, it's almost full tilt, and like around these parts, if you're watching from anywhere else, like especially like in bigger metropolitan cities, I think that you'll find more Sundays like any other day, right? But and I can't totally attest to that. But I do know, like I say, okay, here in the 72601, things slow down a lot. A lot of places are closed on Sunday. Places close early on Sunday. And I remember as a kid growing up in Little Rock that Sunday was like that when I was little. But then it started expanding and opening up more to where Sunday was a little bit more going on. But what's funny is now when you look all these years later at, the Sunday activities, if you will, they're really not much different throughout the whole state of Arkansas. Now I can speak to that because I'm in it. And so, but it's funny because like even in the capital city, the biggest city of Little Rock, Sundays are still pretty much the same. A lot of places closed, most places close early, a little bit more laid back vibe. So yeah, I don't know. So it's like going into like coffee talk on a Sunday morning is a little bit more relaxed. I've still got a full deck of things that I'm doing. Why? Because that's what you do as an independent business person. You do take time off. But at the same time, when you're building things, it's kind of an around the clock thing. I think that can be a thing that folks who don't go that route of like an independent business person will not quite grasp that again when you are responsible for your own paycheck, um man, that it's nonstop in most ways, but you do need to stop. Okay, guys, gals, people, everyone, yeah, you need to, but at the same time it really is, you're on, or you're ready to be on, because that's the nature of the beast. Just saying. So, what else is going on? Looking at the three pillars that is Jim's personal and professional life, leaning highly on the professional. Things are going great when it comes to the book sales. They are ticking right along. Not gangbuster. Not going to mislead you or give you that scarcity factor nonsense. But they're moving, and that's good. I'm happy as I could possibly be. I would love to see more of the physical books move, because I want them in your hand physically, because that's what it's designed for, with like the journal pages. I want you to scribble in it and highlight it and do those type of things, because again, that's really what it's for. It's you. I tell stories and I point things out, but it's for you. It's your story. Once you get to the back end of it, that's really what it becomes. And I hope I encourage that a lot, because Again, in capturing these thoughts, emotions, feelings, and all of that, you're laying a blueprint for future you and future generations that come from you. And that's truly the best I can hope to do in my part of adding to the human experience, right? Especially when we're in such a transitional time. So many things inside of society have changed so much in the past 5, 10, 15, 20, this whole 21st century, um, that are just wild for the sake of the human experience. And I know change gets scary. And I'm hoping to show that you don't have to be scared. I mean, you could be a little nervous learning something new, but guess what? You've done it before. Remember, when you tied your shoes for the first time all by yourself, that was a massive accomplishment of an impossible task. So you thought, but you did it and you did it well, and you've been doing it well ever since. Unless you moved into the slip on category, that just means you realize this works better for me. But still, you accomplished a major thing that was scary, made you nervous, and you did it. And that applies to so many things in your life if you just step back and look at them. It's important. When it comes to like the service that I provide these days with evergreen content creation, consulting, and training, the online stuff is getting closer to being ready and available for folks to check out. And because again, I really like doing the self guided stuff to where I like to learn on my own at my own pace, right? Sometimes that's super fast, sometimes it's a little slower, but I do. I like doing it that way. And that's why I want to create those modules and master classes to where you can do that too. Because if I was Prince of the Planet, if I was Prince of the Planet, I would make it mandatory that everyone everywhere would have to go through basically the same type of course I went through in my broadcast training. Why? Because the ability to communicate to me is probably one of like the most important things for a human being to be able to do. Um, Especially now when we're working in a realm of like text on screen and the emojis and stuff like that. Because meaning can get lost if you're not careful. And so, but the ability to effectively communicate, I think, is just, I think that's why it's part of our First Amendment when it comes to freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is awesome, but to know how to speak is a really good asset to add to that amendment, or to that Bill of Rights, or that top First Amendment Bill of Rights and birthright. I totally trashed actually speaking clearly there. How ironic, but it happens. Anyway, so that's happening. And another thing I really want to dive into to share with you today is when it comes to the project side of my three pillar life, is that the virtual stump that, again, it came to name, came to that name probably 2016, 2017, somewhere off in there, but I actually gave it a name. Before I was just doing the thing to where I was reaching out to the local clients, asking them the three questions: who they are, what they're running for, and why someone should vote for them in a nice, even platform. I mean, it's like there's no bias there. Doesn't matter to me which side you ascribe to. It's not my business. It's your business. Um, doesn't matter. The main thing is coming up with a way for, at least in this one sliver of the world that I've etched out online, is an equal footing for folks. Everybody gets a shot. And so that said, it's going very well. And with it going very well, and the way you hope to do things when you're doing stuff like that, with the way the technology has evolved, and also my own personal responsibilities and time constraints, Alicia and I talked, and we saw that we would have the ability to actually expand more because, of course, our focus is going to be in Boone County because this is where we live. This is the things that directly impact us when it comes to a lot of the election. But we also know that there are other counties around the state, all 75 counties, that most of them don't have a whole lot of resources when it comes to putting something like this together. Um, some we decided what we're going to do, check it out, kids, is we're going to expand statewide. And so and this is like still, it's going to be a totally free thing. It's like a labor of love for the benefit of community anywhere, because Arkansas as a whole it's still our home all the way across the board. And Yeah, so we're doing that. But now here's the thing though. Now, one of the other things about this that was important to me is I wanted to, okay, one aspect is the candidates, right? Because it's important. Who are these people whose names are on ballots that I'm hoping you will walk into a ballot booth wherever you are and make a selection that's an informed selection. So, what are we doing? We're also going to look at the things that you may not be aware of, like come January 1st, where the sales tax on groceries in Arkansas is going to go away. Now, a lot of folks who have chimed in online about that, well, it's only like 0.125, it's like some small percentage. Here's the dealio, Daddio. It's happening. Are you aware? And whether it's good, whether it's bad, is that you know about it. And did you know about it? Probably not, but you're still commenting and complaining on it. And that's your right. Go ahead and knock yourself out. But the awareness factor of things like that, because I didn't realize it was happening. Again, I unplugged, I wasn't paying attention. But it's something that was important to know because there are other things that are happening that you need to know about. As far as like we're a civilized society, keeping informed on things is kind of a big deal. So coming back over here too. Now again, everything is going to be routed through 72601life.com, but I've got the main domains like arkansasvirtualstump.com, virtualstump.com, and thevirtualstump.com to like try to cover all bases on points of potential confusion. We'll point back to this one page that you see here on the screen, right? And that said, one of the things that we're definitely going to focus on is look at that, the voter education series. Now, what this is going to be is I'm wanting to put together totally free resources for people to learn more about the election processes, how to register to vote, where to vote, and things like that, how to find that information out. And it seems like it could be like a very massive thing, but here I'm going to share a little trick of things, how my head works on these things. Now, when it comes to putting together something like this, now for me, from my perspective, experience, and things I've done, the thing about doing this is for me, it's just a story, right? Thinking like a news story or feature. Now, it's kind of a big one because of the territory that's covered, but the technology allows for me to be able to cover these things in a way I've never been able to do it before. So if you can soup up the engine, well, sometimes you want to open that bad boy up. And that's what we're doing here. So the voter education series, now that is again, um, as we continue to move forward, I'll be building in those modules and videos and such just for people to check out. Doesn't cost you a dime. Totally cool. Now you'll see here all 75 counties in Arkansas laid out. Wow, that's pretty. Did you know there were 75 counties in Arkansas? Now you do. So all of these here, now each one of these is going to be hyperlinked to an individual page and list that will feature the races in those counties specifically. And then up here, I'm going to incorporate what's going to be like for like the federal elections, like with the Senate. I'm going to put those there. I'm still like so I'm tweaking as we go. But the main thing is I'm going to have all of this completed before year's end, as far as like all the mechanics of it. So this resource will be available to everyone in the state. That's what I want. And people outside of the state are just curious. What's going on in Arkansas? I don't know. Let's find out. But now here's the thing. When we get down here to the statewide initiatives, this one is important. And again, Alicia really, really pushed this thought into my head when it comes to like, let's do this right. Because there are things on the ballot that you don't know what they are. You may see somebody in a parking lot who's trying to get your signature to get something on the ballot, and they tell you a little, but do you remember after the fact if you don't just run away from the person after macing them for being some creepy dude in the parking lot with a clipboard? You know you've done it. So anyway, but now here, like right now, for instance, did you know, and you're fixing to find out, right now, currently, there are 4 statewide Arkansas measures on the 2026 ballot. They're already going to be there. They've passed, well, they've done all the steps that were needed to get through the process to actually be on the ballot. Now, these 4 right here, again, this is well, another thing I want you to understand, none of this has a political bias. Not from me, not from Alicia, not from Amp Multimedia. Do we have our own opinions and thoughts? Yes. Are we going to share them here? No. This platform is 100% meant to be, as I feel it should be, a middle of the road information source. There'll be no particular bias one way or the other, leaning one side or the other. Now, I will say the caveat of, as Arkansas has progressed politically and framing and such over the past, 10, 15 years, it will appear to be more of a red thing, but it's not. It is what it is. Here's the issue. Here's the person. Boom, there it is. But if it happens to look like there are more Republicans than Democrats and things, because there are more Republicans than Democrats and things nowadays. That's just it. That's not a bias. It's a fact. I'm just pointing that out now. But four things that are already on the ballot that you may not be aware of. Number one, citizenship requirement for voting amendment, legislatively preferred constitutional amendment. That's a LRCA in short term. Anyway, it adds language so that only U.S. citizens may vote in state or local elections. So that will be on the ballot in November. The right to keep and bear arms. That way, it rewrites the state constitutional section on firearms to say the right to keep and bear arms is a natural, fundamental, and individual right that shall not be infringed. So those two right there mainly have a lot. It's about clearing up definitions of things so that when it comes down to anything, if it's spelled out as clear as humanly possible, there you go. Creation of economic development districts amendment. Now, districts, and now this is interesting. Lets the legislature create economic development districts and other programs and make loans or grants of public money to promote economic development across the state. That could be a very interesting thing because once you put that on the books to where they can do that, then you need to keep an eye on how they're doing that after the fact. But again, awareness that they've done it and you actually get a say in this. That's kind of cool. So if you don't like it, you can vote against it. If you're totally for it, you can totally vote for it. So there we go. And then the Arkansas Natural Resources Commission bond measure. Now, this authorizes up to $500 million in general obligation bonds for water related infrastructure, drinking water systems, wastewater, stormwater, drainage, irrigation, flood control, wetlands, and aquatic resources. This is so exciting conversation this morning, I know. But anyway, but to have that allocated for those purposes. So, and again, and you, the citizens of Arkansas, get the opportunity to make your voice heard at the ballot box on those things. Now, things that are still lingering as far as what is or isn't going to be on the ballot. Now, this is where you're going to see the folks in the parking lots of the clipboards to try to get your signature to get these things on the ballot. All right, now that covers through July 3rd. That's their cutoff. So they may be walking around in the cold. If they're serious about what they want to get here, you'll see people walking in the cold. The initiative and referendum process amendment. Now, see, here's the thing. Now, these things are not on the ballot, but there's a push for them. So to be aware of what is happening, you might want to pay attention. Now, that one would lock the statewide initiative and referendum process into the Constitution, bar the legislature from altering voter approved amendments, and require challenges to be handled within a defined period. See, now that type of organization sounds so incredibly boring, and it will look incredibly boring if anybody's actually covering that as far as like a newsy thing. It will look very boring unless it's something very contentious or controversial or made controversial. But so that's kind of a thing there. It's like, I don't know. Again, I'm not looking to debate the validity of one of the things, but anyway, somebody's working on that. Right to Government Transparency Initiative would create a constitutional right to government transparency and require voter approval for laws that affect that transparency. So, in other words, if anybody's going to try to do something that takes away the transparency of a thing, they're not going to be able to do that. Interesting. Establish educational standards for schools receiving public funding initiative would require any school receiving public funds, public or private, to meet the same accreditation and assessment standards. Hmm. So if the state's going to give you money, you got to do things for it. I thought that's what we were already doing, but apparently it wasn't officially on the books. Create a fundamental right to initiative and referendum amendment, another direct democracy measure revising Article 5, Section 1 of the Arkansas Constitution and strengthening citizens' power to initiate and repeal laws. So, in the quick little read there, it's like it's to reinforce people's rights inside of the government. We'll see how that goes. Environmental Preservation Act would establish a fundamental right to a clean and healthy environment and empower the legislature to pass laws to preserve it. Boy, now you talk about something we'll need to unpack right there because those things can get Yeah, you want to read the fine print on that one. Exempt feminine hygiene products and diapers from sales tax initiative. Okay, so there you go. Would exempt menstrual products and diapers, children and adults, from state sales and use tax. So that's interesting. I'd call that a well-being issue. Now, again, none of those are guaranteed to be on the ballot in 2026, but they very well could be. And again, we're going to be getting a lot of our information by way of Ballotpedia, the Arkansas 2026 ballot measures, and the UAEX Public Policy Center. And that's University of Arkansas, not United Arab Emirates, just so you know. So anyway, and I'll be in contact with a lot of those folks to put together these features to then put up there so you can get a better understanding. I'm also kicking around an idea of doing a different, well, a podcast. Not our coffee time is not going to be compromised. I may bore you with some of this stuff, just get you up to date on what we're doing over here. But I think it's kind of interesting. So you might think it's kind of interesting, but at least getting the word out on stuff. But anyway, I'm looking to develop and it'll be a statewide podcast to where if people in a certain area have questions that they don't feel are getting addressed or they can't get a call, here's the kicker, kids. I ain't special, but I do know how to call people and hound them for answers, not in a rude way, not in a mean way, but just in a professional journalistic manner. Done it all my life, and I'll continue to do it because apparently I can't stop doing it. So that's kind of what I'm going to do. And plus, I'm making the time in my own life and personal schedule to do this. I can focus. You may not have time to do that. And I can come at it from a completely unbiased manner. I, honest to God, can. I can move forward in life without having to be right or you to be wrong. That's true. It's funny. I'm a little concerned, and Alicia's not going to like what I'm about to say, but I'm noticing my timbre is quite lower this morning. So if I was doing voice work, this could be a very handy tool for my register to go so low. But that's also kind of an indicative of I may have something coming down. But I'm still gonna be here. Even if I'm sick, I'm gonna be right here with y'all having coffee. Even if I look terrible. The best thing is though, you can't get a human virus from a computer, or can you? But yeah, I'm just kind of making a note, and I'm sure she just heard that, and she's going to bombard me with a barrage of Lysol as soon as I walk out of here. Anyway, but that's what's happening with the Arkansas Stump on my project side of the world. Because again, the virtual stump thing is meant solely to educate the public in a centralized manner to where you'll have all the information. Up ahead this week, I'm reaching out with more of the candidates on the Boone County ballot. Now, when it comes to the state folks around the state, don't get me wrong, there is no way at this given point in time I'm going to be able to like get in the car and drive to all 75 counties. That'd be kind of a fun adventure, but probably not. So when you see those videos go up, odds are they're going to be recorded by way of like Zoom. But here's my promise to you that while I give every candidate, I give them the opportunity for like 3 takes, 4 if we need it, because these folks addressing the camera and perhaps yourself are never comfortable in that realm. If it's not what you do, talking to a camera or into a microphone, you get nervous and it reflects not who you are. So that's why I really do like being able to give people the opportunities like, okay, you got that one out, you said what you needed to say. Now let's slow down and let's just help you be more you in front of the camera. It's the job of a director, right? So with that said, that's what we're doing there. So anyway, I just wanted to share all that because again, I put the post out there, and we will be doing some fun things in the realm of advertising, marketing, and promoting the virtual stump as a whole. Because again, my focus is Boone County because again, we got the preferential primary coming up in March. That's the big one. That's for here as far as like picking which of the 5 people running for county judge is going to be the one. I don't, and that's the thing because actually it will matter a lot because in those races where to the best of my knowledge. But again, because there's no Democrat primary situation. I mean, there it's available, but I'm there's none here. Again, it's like it's a Republican stronghold, as they say. So a lot of races will be determined in March and done, and that's that, right? So then come November, everybody will just be on the ballot, and then just you're done. That's it. But now this March thing is going to be a big deal here because again, you got 5 people running for county judge, 5 people running for state representative, and then some other races. Well, and those are the main ones that are going to be I'm not going to say problematic, but there will be runoffs because if you got 5-way races, no one's getting a majority. But if they did, Dude, that would be wild to see. I would be really curious to see that happen. So anyway, but once the party is voting down that party line, because again, if you're a Republican, you have to vote in the Republican primary, Democrat in the Democrat primary, but you can't cross pollinate. It doesn't work that way. If you didn't know that. So anyway, there's all that, and we're gonna educate about that. That's the thing. It's like it's kind of cool because again, in my life, again, I love doing these type of features, and again, I have not wanted to get into political talk and discussion because it is a cesspool of crap right now. Case in point, last night at the Kennedy Center Honors, right, where the creators, the artists, are celebrated for their lifetime achievements, right? And it couldn't just be a celebration of the arts. It has to also go political because Donald Trump is president. So there are people who are going to have to bash that, which is such a disgrace because the people who are receiving the award have nothing to do with politics. I mean, George Strait, you think, have you ever listened to a George Strait song or album because of his political affiliations? No. Kiss? No. The Stallone, have you ever watched a Rocky film or any of Stallone's films and been like, hey, that guy, I like how he votes. I'm going to go see his movies. Maybe that's a part of your thing, but no, you went to go see a movie, right? So for the politics to get thrown in it's just a shame. Calm down, people. Remove that from everything. Enjoy something for what it is, right? So anyway, but yeah, it was kind of cool seeing those clips and everything, and then of course the actual the big gala presentation I think is December 23rd ish or 29th, I don't know, somewhere off in there, where they're going to actually broadcast broadcast the recorded event, and it looks like it'll be fun. I don't know, but it is 8:32 on a Sunday fun day, Super Sunday morning, and I hope you all are again doing very well, enjoying yourselves, and yeah, that's what this is all about. Enjoying some coffee now. As we get ready to wrap this thing up, and again, I want to plant it in your head when you're out there and about. Be the hero that you are for the people that see you, be it your friends and family, especially your children, and your neighbors. Be the hero, whatever that means to you. Be nice, be kind, be generous, be thankful, be happy. Now, as part of this whole process, I do like to share an excerpt from the book because again, book's doing all right. Pretty happy with that. And I hope to see it continue to do more all right. But today, though, and thinking about like with the Kennedy Center honors, and also when it comes to heroic imagery, is kind of where I decided to pull this particular thing from the book, um, because I think it kind of fits. All right, now this is coming from Chapter 4, Totem Testimonies. Now, what does that mean? Page 27. Turn with me now, children. Everyone has one. One figure that stuck, one memory that echoes, one character that somehow held more than just molded plastic. They held meaning. That's what this chapter is about. Not the shelf, not the collection, not even the brand. This is about the moment you realized a toy was more than just a toy. For me, it happened with Kiss. Kennedy Center honorees. They weren't just a glam shock rock band of my childhood, nor were they just a part of the soundtrack of my teen years in the late 80s, nor were they just a nostalgia show in the late 90s that my friends and I traveled a couple hundred miles to go see live when the four original members got back together for a night of music, showmanship, and explosions. The Kiss figures on my wall, both new and reproductions of the original 1970s line, represent the total package that I strive for in my own business as a creator of advertising, marketing, and promotional campaigns. The business of Kiss has had an impact on me long before I had a clue what those things were. But I do know, but I do now, excuse me. I know the power of those processes and strategies, and I say thanks to Peter, Paul, Gene, and of course, Mr. Ace Frehley. So, anyway, that's just a little excerpt. There's something to kind of think about when it comes to those influences. And again, you've got, when it comes to like those, like the brand that is Kiss, the image that is Kiss, the brand. Now, that's different than the individual personalities, the real people behind the makeup, right? Everybody's got their ups, downs, highs, lows, flaws, personality quirks, egos, nonsense, work ethic, lack thereof, work ethic, whatever it is. But that's not the point. The imagery that grabs you, it's okay to hold on to the ideal thing, right? That totem that they present to you that inspires a thing in you. I'm not worried, and I don't. Okay, it's a role model thing, right? If you've got something, that's where like we've changed up so much because of technological information distribution, that at one point you could see someone. We'll say, let's look at. I'll just pull out John Wayne. All right. John Wayne, the character, the guy in the movies, from the war flicks to the cowboy shows and all of those things. John Wayne, the actor portraying roles in those films, received high acclaim for those films and those roles and his talents in doing that, right? Now, the man John Wayne, who had his own personal opinions and thoughts, was a lot the same when it came to John Wayne, but in some ways, it wouldn't necessarily reflect or be translated by an audience in a positive manner. And they stayed away from that inside of the Hollywood and celebrity sphere of things for the longest time. They was like, keep your mouth shut. You know, that's not your job. You go up here, sing and dance, chicken. And, and that worked out well. But then as we progressed, that line got completely thinner, 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 blurred, and now gone to where those folks who are the artists and entertainers have been convinced that their opinion matters more than yours or mine. Or me even saying that, since I'm the guy on the camera and on the spotlight right now, that I'm more important. My opinion is more important than yours, and it's not. But the point being is, don't let that, we'll call it a paradigm shift, a zeitgeist, that change the way we interact with our pop culture to where all of our entertainment and inspiration of the past has kind of been weaponized against us by way of politics. And that's a shame. We never should have let that happen, but we did. And here we are. But now we're pointing it out so we can't be as impacted or affected by it. So that said, it's like it's kind of a shame that those things, and when you look at like the remakes and the reboots that have happened over the past 10 years, so many, and I'll say this boldly, and we can debate it all day long, but so many of the icons of my youth, your youth, and pop culture on the whole have been flipped on their heads because of ideology that some folks thought needed to be planted in there, and change things. It's sort of like even the debate that once was when it came to like when they did the revamp on the DC characters and they got costume revamps, like Superman losing the trunks, and he didn't have the trunks there for a good long while. And that caused a lot of massive debate and uproar. Why? Because when you have something that is so iconic, an image, thought, and the way someone receives it, and then you make a change inside of it, you're punching someone's heart really hard, because you know when something is out there in the public arena, right? It's You're gonna, even though it belongs to someone else, say like a band like Kiss, you once you're out there and you're on that stage, and you're like, even like me or you, if people see you in a certain way and then you change that, and they've already at some point personalized and internalized who and what you are, right? And what you represent. So they say, or so they think that their perspective that they have. When you change that, you're breaking something that meant something to them, and they will fight you. Okay. I know I got into plenty of heated debate in truly a stupid manner when it comes to like Superman not having shorts. It's dumb. It just looks terrible. It's like, had he started that way and that was the image that was built and baked in, it would be different than when you change it after 75 years. Same thing like when you look at Kiss the brand and the band. Whenever Peter Criss and Ace Frehley left the group again after the reunion shows and all of that, to then have Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons to make the call to bring Tommy Thayer and Eric Singer on board, but in the makeup of the originals. The outcry never stopped, even to this day. Regardless that Eric Singer was in the band after Eric Carr had passed away for quite a few years, and that Tommy Thayer had been a part of the Kiss organization for a very long time before actually donning the makeup and the newly designed costume for him to fit into the spaceman motif made famous by Israeli. That triggered so many people because of the connections that people had. Now, does that mean anything to people, the generations that came along and only saw that version? Probably not, because they don't have that connection from before. And the same could be said about Star Wars or Star Trek or any other giant pop culture water cooler things that were part of our lexicon. Ghostbusters, all of it, right? So, in thinking about that, and the reason again that I bring all of that up inside of this conversation about being, playing the role of the hero, is to know that once, I mean, you can, we all grow, we all change, and we should where we need to, but know that what you put out there is what's being absorbed by those around you, your friends, your family, your community, and when you shift that in a way that they're not used to seeing, it can be a problem. It can become problematic unless you're mindful of it. But if you're always moving in a mode where you're really trying to be the representative of a hero archetype, I think you're safe. I am, because you're being genuine, and that's important. So, anyway, that's what we were talking about this morning. Because why? It's Sunday, Super Sunday, fun day. Now I'm gonna get off here. I got to get back to work on things because that's what we do when we're serious. Well, stop ever. And plus this lower tone. I wish I gotta find something just to record just so I can say and use this voice. Probably won't though. So cliche. Anyway, kids, fellow countrymen, enjoy yourselves today. Have a wonderful Super Sunday fun day. And just enjoy it. Weather's gonna be beautiful. And looks like it's gonna stay that way for a while. Be sure once again, keep an eye on my buddy Brandon's Storm Track 360 just in case it's not. But also, don't forget to stay plugged in with him when it's not terrible out there. Because again, he's got a lot of great information and good forecasts coming direct from the sources that do the best job at that. So he's not just pulling it out of his butt. No, 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 no. Brandon is a very skilled emergency management guy, along with fueling that with a passion for presentation of all this stuff. So anyway, Storm Trek 360, don't forget. It's a good thing for you to do. We're going to get out of here, and then we're going to talk more tomorrow on when we do it again at 8 o'clock in the morning. 14 minutes into the 8 o'clock hour, which means we're 18 minutes away from the 9 o'clock hour. Wow, that is crazy math right off the top of your head, Jim. I know. Let's get out of here. Let's go walk. I got to go see Alicia. I like her. Anyway, good night, everybody. Morning, Jiminy Crickets, man. I'm so fucked. I need a nap.